Hey people, I'm Sony. I'm a data scientist and I'm pretty much into AI and other stuff as well. So, what I do is I help businesses to grow by making profits and taking the right decisions for the company. My core work is to ask right questions and use right tools and come up with the best possible solutions for the businesses to make more money, make more sales, and get more traction. So, that's what I do as a professional person. People mostly talk about the who's data scientist. It's pretty much a job role, and there is like good scope in data science jobs and stuff like that. But I would say data science is more about a character. So, who's a data scientist? He is not the person who will simply use some AI tools or data science tools like Power BI or Tableau and come up with the business analysis report. He would understand the how business is operating, what are the bottlenecks, what are the loopholes, how the current operation, everything is working, and based on that, he will take the decision of the prevailing problem. And it's not about simply just leveraging machine learning models and creating some predictive systems which can help with based on whatever data says. It's more about understanding the what are the right questions to ask in the first place. And in order to be able to ask the right questions, you should be knowing more about the business, the how the business works, what is the ultimate goal of the business, what kind of customers is it dealing with. So there are like multiple right questions which are required to be asked in order to use the tools, data science tools, optimally. Data science is all about storytelling and how you are able to effectively communicate to non-technical stakeholders and let them know that what decisions have you taken and how you justify your decision making. Because non-technical stakeholders ain't gonna like trust you blindly. You need to tell them, you need to explain them the on what basis, what kind of statistical algorithm you have used in order to go with the decisions which you're claiming to be working afterwards. So that is the whole thing. It's all about storytelling. It's about making the right decisions. It's about knowing the business in the first hand. So there are like multiple things which are important as a data scientist. And having said that, it's all about storytelling. I'm just gonna tell you a story and a scenario, and I will just keep telling you the story. We will just go down the line, and eventually you will be able to know who the data scientist is. I mean, definitely, I will also share with you that how different technologies and tools could be used optimally, how you can stand out from other data scientists who are just concerned with the tools and they just don't know the who they are. Because I mean, you can definitely like rattle off I can rattle off all the information about the algorithms and the tools, and you will be able to understand everything, and you will just go up to any person to get a job of a data scientist, and it won't work for you because you are just a normal person who knows about the tools but doesn't know how to use the tools optimally. So it is really important to know that who you are, what's your role before you use any of the stuff. I mean, we can really give a gun to a monkey and then expect that he will be saving the country. So please understand who you are. So let's assume that you are a data scientist working for some company and you are like a really valuable person. You are getting paid like 150K or 200K per annum. So you are a really good asset for the company. So you're just working after your stuff. Just imagine this the whole scenario. So you're working and CEO just bursts into your office and like she looks worried that, oh my god, there is something I need to share with you now. And you are like, yeah, please tell me. And she is watching you with that hopeful eyes that you're going to do something for her, because every person relies on data science team or data scientist, the main data scientist, who's going to make the right decision for the company. So she's watching you with the hope, and you ask her that, oh my god, what's the problem? And then she says that our customer retention is plummeting, and she says that like there's something we need to do about that, because I'm just not really able to think what we can do and what are the reasons for that. So she's just watching you with hopeful eyes. She is expecting that you will do something, you will do some magic. She doesn't know what you're gonna do, but she is just watching you, and you are the only hope for them. That's who the data scientist is. All right, so now I put you on the pedestal, and now you must be feeling really good or really important as a person, as a executive person in any company, that people are relying on what you're going to do because they are with the problem and you're the one who's responsible for solving their big problems. I mean, people like CEOs are going to rely on you, and they are going to watch you with that kind of like expectations that you're going to do something for the business. So you know that what kind of person you are, right? But the really key and important thing to notice over here is that they are always going to come with this kind of vague problem statement only. They won't tell you the structured approach. That is something where you need to decide for yourself. So they're going to come up to you and say that, oh, we're having this problem, do something. That's what you get as a data scientist every single day. They won't tell you any other thing. So it's your job to know the business problem and structure a really organized and relevant data driven solution for the businesses. So that's what your purpose, that's for your job, and that's what you're supposed to do. Because after you give the business decisions, I mean, do you really think that any company CEO or any founder is gonna rely on whatever you say? He doesn't trust you for no reason. There has to be some justification for whatever decision you make for the company. So it is really important to have a structured and organized plan for whatever the problem is. And then afterwards, you present your solution. So that is the very first thing. The fun game is over. You know that you are a really important asset to the company, and you just need to live up to the fact, and you need to prove yourself that you are actually an important person for the company. First thing you do is jot everything down on the paper, that what are the important metrics for that particular business problem. You just need to ensure that everything is on the paper before you execute it. You should never just start working as you get the problem statement. There would be some questions get generated, and you need to get the answers. I mean, sometimes you would be knowing the answers, and sometimes you need to ask the right person and work with like cross-functional departments. So, or maybe reach out to the person who is having like good business knowledge than you, because being a data scientist doesn't mean that you know every ins and outs about the business. You should be having a good knowledge, but doesn't mean that you should be like an expert of that business, because you may work for like different departments, different companies, different businesses. Doesn't mean that you should be like expert of whatever you do. It's always good if you are, but it's not mandatory. Excavate as deep as possible and just try to know every ins and outs about the problem, and most important, define the metrics. Like based on the problem and based on whatever you think could be the solution, you should be able to know that what could be the metrics used for that. Now, what is metrics? Metrics is pretty much like if there is some sales related problem, then customer data could be your metrics. Like I would require like customer information, their purchase history, their browsing patterns if it's an e-commerce firm, service interaction, or their feedbacks and stuff like that. So these could be the metrics. So you just need to like put everything in a really organized manner, that what could be the metrics for this problem, and you need to know that what is the right thing required to get the right analysis done in the first place. So ask yourself the what the business is, how business works, and based on the problem and based on the business, what are the right variables or metrics you need for the analysis. So the next step is that you need to understand that you're working with the company and there are some limitations in the company at the same time. So for example, you define your metrics, but sometimes you don't really have that data, or CEO or any manager is not collecting that data. Then you need to let them know that this kind of data could be helpful for future purposes. But at that time, you need to solve the problem as well. So you need to collect the list of whatever variables you have in the first place. Sometimes what happens that you define everything well, but you don't have the resources, and you need to work with these limiting factors as well and find a way around it. And that's what data scientists do. So sometimes you also collect the data required, and that is like collection part, but it comes secondary. It's pretty subjective based on how the environment is and how you decide to collect the data and how supportive any manager is. But what I would say is, like, if there is some limitation, know how to work with it. So I'm just telling you the how you can work in any company, because not everything will work as per the way you want. And the biggest challenge for any data scientist is to get the right data, is to collect the right data, or to get it in a really clean and analyzable format. You won't get either of that. You will either get the messy data, or you have to collect it or find a way to collect by yourself, or you will just never get it. You just need to find something else around it and get the analysis done. And you can really raise your hand. You are responsible for business development. You are responsible for solving the problem which business is currently facing. So you can recommend about what data could be required, but you can force them, and you need to solve the problem either way. Data scientist is a universal person, and he works with every department. Like other departments are just concerned with their own area, but you take a business as a whole thing, just like any CEO or a founder. So it is really important that you are an extrovert person and you're just reaching out to every person. It's not like the manager will ask you to reach out to any guy from different departments and get the things done. Once you put everything down on the paper, once you try to understand everything, once questions get popped in your mind, you realize that for this one, this department could help, for this one, that department could help, and you get as many meetings done as possible just to know about that you are going in the right direction based on the problem. And what analysis you're gonna do. I ain't gonna dive into any technical stuff like you clean the data or you manipulate the data, or wrangle the data, stuff like that, because that is pretty much technical. I don't really want to talk about technical stuff right now, because we are talking about the philosophy of a data scientist, because it's really important to know before you start working as a data scientist and dive in any technical details. So this is the foundation. I'm laying the foundation. So you get back to your office based on our story. You get back to your office after having all the questions, like having a really comprehensive discussion with every person, every right person, knowing about what data you have in the hand and what you can do with that data. Everything is pretty much like set. So now you get back to your office, you start working, and you analyze, and you realize that there are many few customers who gave like really bad review, but we were not like mindful enough to look at them, and they eventually got churned. We realized that how important it is to take all the feedback seriously. Then we realized that people who were like about to get churned, they started using like different steps and started exhausting um, uh, um, all their packages, like all their gift cards and everything, and they were just like exhausting everything. So there were like few patterns you discovered in the customer behavior, uh, and you realized that these were the like indicators of customer churn. So now you got the features, that what features are going to tell you that if customers about to churn, and now you build a machine learning model which can predict the churn before it occurs. So now you're able to create some system which can predict the things before it occurs. You are able to identify churn up to like 15%. Definitely whatever you are going to do, it won't like work up to the 100%, because I mean it is pretty much a subjective field. But like even if there's like slight improvement, then you won as a data scientist, that you were able to figure out something, and your model is working up to an extent. And it's not like the end of the story. You again get the data back, and you just like iterate over the process over and over again, that what is going on with the data, what are the other things. Just try to excavate as deep as possible. And when excavation is concerned, there is no limit. You can just dive as deep as possible and just keeps on going. So when you realize that you are able to ask the right questions, when you are able to collect the right data, when you are able to mine in the right direction, which is called data mining. Data mining is another word, right? Which is pretty much all about machine learning and getting the insights of the data only. But when you know that where to mine, you are a good data scientist. And for knowing where to mine, you need to have the right tools. It is imperative that you need to have right tools, but definitely apart from that, you need to ask right questions as well. So this is about the philosophy. Any data scientist, I mean there are like I would say thousands of people every single year they are graduating as a data scientist, and they know about all the details. In their resume it's written that they know machine learning, they know like data analytical tools like Tableau, Power BI, they know Kafka, they know how data engineering works, they can automate the data engineering process and stuff like that. We don't need it. I mean, of course, companies require the people as a laborer to work for them, but there is a main person who takes the decision of the company, and you need to have the acumen as a data scientist to know the business and then take the right decision. This is like laying a good foundation, and on the top of it, every block you keep is gonna add more value to yourself. So just stick with me, and I'm just gonna like step by step, I will just create the best content for you to know that what data science is, how to learn it in the most optimal way, eventually how we can just incorporate AI as well and just speed up our tasks. So it's like multiple things coming together, but we just need to know the science as a science, not something which is like a group of technical skills. So do understand that who you are. You are a data scientist.